But Dick, if I can bring you to the forefront, I appreciate you not doing a presentation, but are you able to give, as chairman of the Ventilator Challenge UK, can you give us some of your insights in terms of what's that been like to lead, and what have been some of your largest surprises in doing that? Given you've got a long and established career as well, obviously across this sector, so it would take quite something to surprise you. But what have been your key takeouts?
Well, it has been an extraordinary journey. One, of course, I've been on with Graham from the get-go, and I think most of us who've been in the centre of it would describe it as life-changing, not just because the pace with which we've moved and the achievements that we've achieved, but the intensity of the experience. And I think it's safe to say that the key ingredients for success have been principally the fact there was a bunch of engineers in the core of it, and a bunch of engineers who are used to handling complex programs, so whether they're aerospace or automotive. So it's kind of like the kind of bread and butter job. So our ability to drop onto that using our intuitive skills and the processes that we've all adopted across aerospace and automotive, even though the three-letter acronyms are different, the fundamental process is the same. But the strongest thread of all has been deep and profound mutual trust, allowing the right people to get on with the job, trust each other, good quality people making the right decisions, not second guessing, and principally this fantastic process of doing the right thing, I think was probably the best way to describe it. And that's enabled us to move really quickly, get stuff done, decisions made, move on. It's also very interesting, spread to every single corner of the enterprise. I mean, bearing in mind, there's probably something like 5,000 people have been involved in this, with 30 odd companies across the whole consortium, because we're looking at the production of 2 ventilators. So yeah, 33 companies, none of which we've got command and control of, because they're all just individual companies that have come together. And yet this culture of trust, empowerment, doing the right thing has spread to every corner. So when we go to Airbus, as you've seen the slides that Brian's put up, talking to the assembly technicians there and solving a problem that they've got, they're behaving exactly the same way as we did when we set this thing out in the core. And yet we never had a town hall event. We never had the sort of corporate PowerPoint presentation to say, this is our company culture. By just simply getting on with it as engineers and doing the right thing has just been it's spread everywhere. And I think there's a huge lesson there for us all is, there's nothing old-fashioned about doing the right thing and enabling people to do it. And I think it's also made us realize that, in corporate life, because of all the controls and measures and things you put in place to drive a big enterprise, often those things get in the way of people doing the right thing. You have authority levels, for instance. Well, we couldn't afford to have authority levels, otherwise we'd tie ourselves up in knots. So we gave people the authority to spend the money to do the right thing. And when you look back on what we've done, none of it's got out of control. The costs are virtually bang on the stuff that we set out to do. So there's been no failure modes as a result of us taking the shackles off. And it's just been an extraordinary experience. And I don't know how we're going to bottle it all up and not say sell it on, but make it available for others. But there's a job of work for us to do there, because it has been quite extraordinary, I think, and it's made us think quite differently about how to do the day job.
Brilliant, thank you, Dick. And again, we've had some conversation about it with the broader team. So it sounds like some of the deeper learnings have been, and outcomes have been, understanding that what's holding us back is the same thing that's our greatest opportunity. And it's a human issue as much as it is a technology one, if not more so. It is around people, it is around culture, it is about leadership. And I think, maybe, is that what you're saying, that's...
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, picking up on Graham's presentation, that's 70% to do with people and leadership.
Yeah.
20% technology, because we used some fantastic tools because we had to do things in a really compressed time frame and get them right first time. And I'll just pause for and then the final 10% is good data. I mean, some of the other tools we used were we had to train people remotely, because the whole concept of swamping a small enterprise with hundreds of people to pick up the processes and all the training, the risk of the COVID risk, we had to do all the training remotely. So we were using VR and augmented reality to help train people in remote locations. So a whole load of tools that we've been working on within the catapult in a kind of advanced experimental stage. We just had to deploy them. And, you know, there's hundreds of people have been trained. There's, I think, 100 HoloLenses in play with, I don't know, 1,500 people have been trained on them. It's been incredible.
Fantastic. No, thank you. Let's